So, today, the witches are out. And is Gisele Bunchkins a witch? Could this be why Tom Brady's had so much success? And am I dating a witch? What does my girlfriend Kenya have anything to do with it? You're about to find out all of this because it is tea time. All right, welcome back to The Quality Life. I am Joshua Prophet. I am here with my girlfriend, Kenya McIntosh. So
hey, everyone.
Tom Brady exposes his wife. And he says, we'll get into the video. This actually came out a couple years ago. But this goes right into the topic of the day, which is witchcraft.
Ooh.
Yeah, so let's kind of get our initial thoughts. So what's your just initial thoughts on witchcraft?
Initial thoughts.
Yeah, just initial thoughts.
I don't even know where to start because, initial thoughts.
Just initial.
Okay. It's dangerous, even though it looks like it's the light, especially nowadays. Mm-hmm. But just because it looks like light doesn't mean it is, and it's not of God. Initial thoughts.
Well, I have a good verse from Deuteronomy in the Old Testament. It's Deuteronomy 18:9-12. It reads, "When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their sons or daughters into the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritualist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you." So he's kind of saying, just because these nations are doing that, you still need to uphold the standard that I have set before you. Mm-hmm. And what does this have to do with Gisele Bunchkins? Well, we're about to find out right now.
I've learned a lot from my wife over the years. She's so about the power of intention, because she just wills it so much. And so she put together a little altar for me that I could bring with pictures of my kids. And I have these little special stones and healing stones and protection stones. And she has me wear a necklace and take these drops she makes. And I say all these mantras. And I stopped questioning her a long time ago. I did. I just shut up and listened. And at first I was like, this is kind of crazy. And then we were playing the Seahawks, and she said, you better listen to me. This is your year, but this is all the things you're going to have to do to win. And I did all those things, and by God, it worked. It was pretty good. And then in 2015, it was about early January, and she said, you know how much I love you? And I said, yeah. And she said, I just want to let you know this is not going to be your year. Oh. And of course we lost. I said, what does 16 look like? And she said, 16 is going to be your year. So it was early January this year, and I said, babe, asking, do we have a chance? And she said, yeah, but you're going to have to do a lot of work, and you're really going to have to listen to me. So, man, I listened to her. And right after the game, she said, see, I did a lot of work. You do your work, I do mine. She said, you're lucky you married a witch. I'm just a good witch.
All right, so that was Tom Brady kind of exposing Gisele for, using sort of these witchcrafty practices of divination, conjuring up winds. I don't even know how to describe it. So, what are your, just initial thoughts on Tom Brady's wife, even though they're going through a rough time? It might not be his wife for long.
I think it's interesting how he even said she wills it, like she's the one doing everything.
Right.
Rather than, of course, we know God, we should pursue God's will in all things. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. Just how comfortable he was to be like, oh yeah, my wife's a witch. But
that was a little weird.
We have altars. She gives me altars. Like, he was just so comfortable with the whole thing, which is interesting because I feel like most guys, like, if your girlfriend was like, hey,
I'm a witch.
No, not even like I'm a witch, but like, hey, here's some healing crystals, take it to work with you, okay? Or like, hey, here's an altar, take it to work with you. It's gonna get you that promotion. I feel like a lot of guys would probably be like, okay.
Yeah, what's going on here?
But yeah.
I mean, I feel like a lot of guys, especially if they're not deep in the word, would probably take it, but then they'd be like, yo, can you believe what this chick, but he expresses that he like has a little altar and he has to say all these mantras and do like little prayers with his kids and everything. And it's like a whole ritual. And people will be like, well, what's the harm in that? And the harm is that you're not putting God, you're basically not idolizing God. Like, you're not supposed to have any idols but God, because God is a jealous God, and he's a jealous God because he's the only one that is perfect and pure. And so the fact that you would have the audacity to look up and to worship something that's other than him, then he's like, why would you do that? And that's why the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge and will grant you wisdom, because once you understand that, then you're always striving to do the perfect will of God, rather than, looking up to your favorite celebrities or your parents sometimes, or your girlfriend, or this or that. And so I wanted to do a quick, just brief definition of what witchcraft is, so people know like exactly what we're talking about when we go through this. And so witchcraft is the practice of magic, especially for evil purposes, the use of spells, and that's from Oxford Languages. And so that's exactly what we mean. Again, it's basically just, trying to do, and it kind of goes back to the law of attraction thing that we talked about in earlier videos, where you're trying to make everything for yourself and be the God of you.
Yeah, make it exactly how you want it to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's just a snippet. When we, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, and even, how I said exactly how you want it to be is interesting. How she was like, when he asked about, are we going to win this year? And she's like, no, not this year. So it's like she's getting her information from someone, and that someone is obviously not God. And there's only two forces going on here. So
I mean, and she could have kind of just been shooting off the hip, like, yeah, or just like saying like, oh, this year, or just putting the seed in his head, because belief is a powerful thing for human beings. And so if he goes to his wife, who's probably his most trusted person, or the person that he trusts the most rather, and she goes, no, you're not going to win this year. I mean, even when he's on the field, he's probably not thinking I'm going to win, but that's kind of like gotten into, him, and will affect his performance.
Well, I mean, because there was one year she said, you're not going to win this year. He didn't win.
Exactly. But that's what I mean. Because like, if it's like if right before a game, my mom or somebody I trusted said, how do you think I'm going to do? And they said, you're going to play awful, right? I'm not going to go out there and intentionally try to play awful, but that's probably going to affect me psychologically, even if it's not like at the forefront of my mind. So, I mean, that could have something to do. That's kind of like a practical way of explaining it, rather than, oh, the devil and his evil forces, materialize exactly what she said. You know what I mean?
Okay.